This is STEFANI FALCONES. My theme is mold infection of the central nervous system. Infection of the central nervous system with fungi can cause devastating consequences. Although several fungi may cause infection in normal humans, most of them are opportunities and influence immunocompromised hosts.
Nervous system. Her CNS comprises the brain, the spinal cord, and associated membranes. Under some circumstances, bacteria may enter areas of the CNS. If this occurs, abscesses or emphysema may be established.
Development that coordinates body's movements. Parkinson's disease is a disorder in which neurons deteriorate in an area of the brain called basal ganglia that controls body movements, and it worsens over time if neurons die or communicate slowly.
Infections in general. The CNS is well defended against infection. The spine and brain are sheathed in tough, protective membranes.
This drug was discovered accidentally at the beginning of the 1980s as a cause of toxic Parkinsonism in humans. Gene mutations causing Parkinson's are LRRK2, Parkin, UCHL1, DJ1, and PINK1, UPP, ubiquitin proteasome pathway.
Parkinson's disease affects more than 500,000 people each year. It is the second most common disease in the United States. The major limitation in diagnosing Parkinson's disease is that performing a brainstem biopsy in a living body is impossible. PET and SPECT imaging have a number of capabilities following the declining neurotransmitter
medicine. Antifungal therapy outlines therapeutic intervention for mold infection of the CNS. The arsenal against the infection include 3 classes of antifungal agents: polymyxin and proteasine B formulation, triazoles, voriconazole, itraconazole, and posaconazole, and echinocandins, camphorfungin, micanfungin, and anidulufungin. Antifungal agents vary widely in their distribution. In the voriconazole is Antifungal agents vary widely in their distribution. In the voriconazole is a relatively small, moderately lipophilic molecule with a concentration in CSF that is approximately 50% of its concentration in plasma, in both animals and humans.
From human to human through a sneeze or a cough. Smallpox killed some 500 million people last century, and influenza another 100 million in the 1918 outbreak alone. Now, with overpopulated cities where people are in close proximity, and given the ease of international travel, a single major viral pandemic would be much worse. According to the Centers for Disease Control, if another major influenza pandemic were to occur today, estimates are for 1 billion dead. While researchers work furiously to develop antiviral drugs, a truly effective broad-spectrum antiviral medication still eludes them. But we don't need to look to the apocalyptic to see the effects of viruses. Viruses are vastly underestimated as a cause of chronic disease today, It's not just the millions who currently suffer from viral infections, such as hepatitis C, AIDS, and herpes that are affected, but the average man and woman on the street. Everyone, without exception, is infected with the Epstein-Barr, cytomegalovirus, and herpes viruses. Most people are strong enough to keep these viruses from being much more than a low-grade nuisance, but they slowly eat away at our vitality, taking advantage of us when we are tired or under the weather. They are among the many opportunistic infections that wait for us to let our guard down. What is also generally unknown is that many of the conditions currently considered to be genetic in nature are in fact viral in origin. How does this mix-up happen? Firstly, viral infections are virtually impossible to detect, so unless you know exactly what you are looking for, you are likely to miss them. Secondly, viral infections also have the ability to cause genetic mutations in our DNA. Thus, in some cases, the genetic mutation that a scientist points to as the cause of a disease
FALCONES. List of infection of the central nervous system: fungal, protozoal, bacterial, viral, post-infectious disease of central nervous system.
The adult human brain weighs approximately 1.5 kilograms, making up less than 2% of a person's body weight, and yet it defines our humanity and makes us the individuals that we are. The brain is responsible for the generation of language and thought, attention, consciousness, memory, and imagination. In order to fit into the skull and accommodate the massive number of neurons and connections needed, the brain is highly folded. This results in the creation of gyri or ridges and sulci or furrows. If we were to unfold the entire human brain, it would take up approximately 1 square meter. Perhaps the most impressive feature of the brain is the amount of connections formed between neurons. There are an estimated 86 billion neurons in the brain, each of which forms an average of 7,000 connections with other neurons, resulting in between 100 and 500 trillion synapses within the brain. In an attempt to conceive of the enormity of this system, the number of neurons in the human brain has been equated to the number of stars in the Milky Way. Now that we have begun to appreciate the complexity of the human brain, let's begin to examine its structure. There are also anterior and posterior aspects to the brain.
Diseases. Fungal meningitis is rare and usually the result of a spread of a fungus through the spinal cord. Also, anyone can get fungal meningitis. People with weakened immune system, like those with HIV, infection or cancer, are at higher risk. Thank you.
Meningitis is an infection of the protective membranes covering the brain and spinal cord. Fungal meningitis is caused by a number of different types of fungi, some of which are found outdoors and even in some indoor environments. Fungal meningitis gained national attention in 2012 when a multi-state outbreak occurred that is believed to be the result of contaminated steroid injections. Hundreds of cases resulted, along with dozens of fatalities. Fungal meningitis is not transmitted from person to person. It can develop after a fungus spreads through the bloodstream from somewhere else in the body, as a result of the fungus being introduced directly into the central nervous system, or from a body site infection next to the central nervous system. Signs and symptoms of fungal meningitis may include the following: fever, headache, stiff neck, nausea and vomiting, sensitivity to light, and altered mental status. Certain diseases, medications, and surgical procedures may weaken one's immune system and increase the risk of getting a fungal infection, which can lead to fungal meningitis. Living in certain areas of the United States may also increase a person's risk for fungal lung infections, which can also spread to the brain. For example, bird and bat droppings may contain histoplasma or cryptococcus, and soil in the southwestern United States may contain coccidioides. Even people living and working in contaminated indoor environments may be exposing themselves to types of fungi, such as Aspergillus fumigatus, that have been associated with fungal meningitis. These are just a few things to know about fungal meningitis. To learn more about microbial pathogens or other health and safety, occupational, or indoor air quality issues, please visit the website shown on the screen.